Welcome to the Empire Builders Podcast, teaching business owners the not-so-secret techniques that took famous businesses from mom and pop to major brands. Stephen Semple is a marketing consultant, story collector, and storyteller. I'm Stephen's sidekick and business partner, Dave Young. Before we get into today's episode, a word from our sponsor, which is, well, it's us. But we're highlighting ads we've written and produced for our clients. So here's one of those.
Shortly after I was born, Dad celebrated by taking Mom out to dinner. Of course, they brought me along. While at the restaurant, I began crying and fussing. That's when the waitress sprang into action and asked if she could hold me. She then walked me up and down the aisles and gave my folks some much-needed alone time so they could enjoy their dinner. Shame on me for being fussy, but my parents were forever grateful to that waitress with the bright red hair and the big caring heart. I cried again the other day when I heard that story for the first time. See, that waitress made a heck of an impression on them all those years ago, and that's the kind of lasting impression I want to have on you. I'm Christy Featherston of Home Heating and Air Conditioning. No, we won't coddle your baby, but if you could just see the heart and care we have for our customers, the heart and care we have for you, then you'd know there's no one in Idaho who cares more about your family's home, comfort, and safety.
You know, Stephen, we're recording these podcast episodes over Zoom. And one of the things that Zoom hasn't figured out yet is how to, you can share your screen, you can share files, you can chat, but thank goodness nobody's figured out how to share your breath.
I don't know whether anyone listening is fans of Futurama, but if you remember one of the inventions they had in Futurama, the professor in it had the smelloscope, which was the telescope that looked at the universe and you could get the scent of the universe.
Yeah. In the chat feature, there would be a share a breath mint function. So you wanted to talk about Listerine today.
See, it all ties together.
It all ties together, right? You see where I was going there? It took me a while.
Listerine's kind of an interesting story. The idea of Listerine was inspired by Louis Pasteur's idea on microbial infections. There was an English doctor, Joseph Lister, who demonstrated in 1865, so we're going way back here, that the use of carbolic acid on surgical dressings would reduce infection. So Listerine started off as a way of reducing post-surgery infections. Now, Lister's work inspired a St. Louis-based doctor, Joseph Lawrence, to develop an alcohol-based formula that was, again, a surgical antiseptic, but it also included a couple of other things, had some methanol in it and a bunch of thymol, and it is a trade secret in terms of the extra ingredients in it. And Lawrence named this antiseptic Listerine in honor of Lister. Lister was not involved in the creation of this. It was in honor of him.
Okay.
I was inspired by this guy from it, so I'm going to call it Listerine.
Name it after a famous guy.
Yeah, I'm going to name it after a famous guy. And he hoped to promote the product as a general germicide as well as a surgical antiseptic. Joseph Lawrence licensed the manufacturing of this formula to a local pharmacist named Jordan Wheat Lambert. So, Lambert Pharmaceuticals? That Lambert.
Okay.
Listerine was promoted, and then in 1895, one of the markets that they started to promote to was dentists for oral care. And it was the first over-the-counter mouthwash sold in the United States in 1914. When 1914 came along, that's when they decided to sell it as a over-the-counter mouthwash. Here's where things get really interesting. So if you think about it, they had this antiseptic that they were using for surgical. There was even a period of time where they tried marketing it as a floor cleaner and a cure for gonorrhea.
Okay.
So they had all of these different things that they were trying to fix it on. And then they came across this idea that it could be used for bad breath. There's this obscure medical term called halitosis. And they decided to tie it to the whole thing of this solves halitosis, not bad breath, chronic halitosis. So
this is the beginning of these companies inventing the disease to go along with the product.
That's right. And that's what they started in the 1920s. They said, okay, this cures chronic halitosis. But here is why they became so successful, and Listerine is such a massive brand today, and Lambert Pharmaceutical became such a monster in the industry.
Stay tuned. We're going to wrap up this story and tell you how to apply this lesson to your business right after this.
Brought to you by the Least Full of Shit Marketers Association of America. Yes, that's a low bar, but we clear it mightily. We're also the largest pay-per-performance branding group in North America, and that part's for reals. If you're looking for advertising advice geared towards local owner-operated companies, this is your podcast. And now you can pick the brains of these advertising geniuses over lunch without having to pay for lunch or even leave your office. We're talking 90 minutes of straight answers to all your burning questions about lead generation, customer acquisition, mass media branding, how to get off the paper crack treadmill, anything you want, and the only coin required is candor. Because we can't give no bullshit advice without basing it off no BS data on your company, competitive landscape, operations, and all that jazz. We send you a pre-Zoom questionnaire, you fill it out candidly, and boom, Bob's your uncle, you're in like Flynn, and we'll be frank as fuck in giving you the straight scoop on all the advertising and business growth questions you always wanted to know, but were too afraid to ask. You'll also get our no pitching and no bitching guarantee. No pitching means we won't pitch you or try to sell you in any way. If you want more after 90 minutes, you'll have to ask. And no bitching means if you don't think the meeting was worth your 90 minutes, we'll send you $100. Consider it us picking up the tab for lunch and putting our money where our mouth is. Sound like a not-so-full-of-shit offer? Well, that is what we're known for. Take us up on it at empirebuildersprogram.com.
Let's pick up our story where we left off, and trust me, you haven't missed a thing.
Here is why they became so successful, and Listerine is such a massive brand today, and Lambert Pharmaceutical became such a monster in the industry. They started just not only this whole idea of bad breath and halitosis, but pointing out that it's a problem. You know how we talk about the best marketing is self-identification?
Mm-hmm.
When I can speak to somebody how somebody sees themselves, and my product can be a transformational experience to how they see themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine this as a headline. Can I be happy with him in spite of that?
Right.
Because up until that time, bad breath was not conventionally considered like this terrible, terrible thing.
It was just breath.
It was just breath. But now you have the woman saying, boy, he's got bad breath. And can I be happy in spite of that? Hey, dude, are we running out and buying frickin' Listerine?
Heck yeah.
You know, Axe played that game, right?
Uh-huh.
They got boys to spray the crap all over themselves because, hey, women are going to like me better because I smell better. Like, I mean, Axe took that playbook from Listerine, my friends.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Listerine invented this game.
I love it. Identify the problem, convince people they have the problem.
Right. So they were doing $115,000 a year in revenue before they started this campaign around halitosis.
115,000 total.
115,000 total. That was their Listerine revenues. They started this campaign, and in 7 years, sales go from $115,000 to $8 million. The thing that they did was they created the idea, the shame of bad breath. And they created that this bad breath will make you seen in this way, will destroy your love life, will have all of these impacts. And all you need to do is use this little golden bottle of Listerine, just a little bit every day. And next thing you know, everything is fine.
Life will be golden.
Life will be golden. And then in 1950, Lambert and Warner merged to create the Warner Lambert Pharmaceutical Company. But the lesson here is, one could say that Listerine invented this disease. One could say that Listerine educated the consumer, got bad breath, solved the bad breath. But that's not why this was successful. Anybody saying that does not understand marketing. The reason why this was successful was self-identification. And what they said is, if you've got bad breath, you're not getting the girl. If you've got bad breath, you're not getting the job. If you've got bad breath, people are going to be talking about you behind your back. That is self-identification, not education. And they built an empire just based off of a product that used to be used for cleaning floors.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Please share us, subscribe on your favorite podcast app, and leave us a big, fat, juicy 5-star rating and review at Apple Podcasts. And if you'd like to schedule your own 90-minute empire building session, you can do it at empirebuildingprogram.com.